Welcome to the Friday at 4 podcast series with your host Charles Luttrell and co-host Steve Kent.
Steve, good afternoon. Welcome back to the Friday at 4. How are you?
All right, Chuck, how are you?
Fantastic. It's been a good week. How about you?
It's been a really good week.
That's
So,
great.
yeah, good stuff.
Awesome. Awesome.
Uh,
Yeah, great topic today. I like to start it off with talking about rules.
Rules. What's a rule?
Rules. What's a rule?
What's a rule?
Yeah. So I got this crazy idea, rules. Bend, break. What do we do with rules, right? So, yeah.
So, when I was in high school, um, I I took let's call it the easy way out. I took I'm in New York, and again, we're talking way back when. I don't know if it changed, but I was only required to take one specific English class to take the Regents exams. All the other English classes could be electives. So I took filmmaking, movie making, um, had a, pottery 101. I mean, I took everything except what I needed to take. And because of that, I never read any of the classics. Any. So from what I hear, because again, I never read this stuff, but from what I hear, there was some guy called Shakespeare. Okay, some
I
guy.
think we've heard of
That,
him.
that's
Yeah.
my that's my level of knowledge, right?
Yeah.
And I believe he had said something about to be or not to be. That is the question.
Yeah.
So for this discussion, for this 30 minutes or whatever we're here, I'm going to kind of tweak that a little bit to say the rules to follow or not to follow. That is the question. We
Yeah.
can have some fun. Okay.
Yeah. So I wanted to start this thing because today really it kind of struck me as I'm a rule follower on the roads. I don't speed, I stop at stop signs, I stop or I turn on red, I do all the good things.
Hmm.
Speed limit is 45 to 45. You know.
Okay.
This week's been very challenging as I have been on the road a lot and people are really riding me and
Hmm.
really it's been an aggravating week driving because I follow the rules. I don't, when it comes to the road,
Yeah.
I follow the rules. And I think that's one thing that, you know, I want to start the topic with because
Hmm.
I think that's one time where I don't like to break the rules because it could get dangerous. And I've seen
Yeah.
it. I've seen it
Yeah.
yesterday and today got dangerous. I was in the left lane and there was a girl next to me in the right lane. The woman behind me was very impatient, kept shooting her hands at me, and she went around both of us on the shoulder.
Oof.
Uh-huh. Caught way back in front of me, locked her brakes up to brake check me for no reason because I'm doing the speed limit, and went the same direction I went and didn't get anywhere any faster than I did. All that she could have killed 3 lives,
Oh, yeah. And they don't care. They don't
right?
care. They
Yeah.
don't care.
And I wanted to bring that up because, that to me, that's one time you don't break the rules,
Right.
you know.
Well, I was on my way this morning to a networking meeting, and I left my house at 6:45 this morning, and I'm going down a major road, 3 lanes, major road. And there's this big New York City bus that from the back, it had, instead of the bus number, it had not in service because they were going
Oh,
back to the garage.
he's in a hurry.
But this driver was exceeding the speed in the right lane, significantly exceeding the speed limit, and he was this close to the car in front of him. Now, if the car in front of him, for whatever reason, had to stop, I'm not talking brake check, if he really had to stop, there is no way that guy would be alive because there's no way the bus could have stopped. You're too big, you're too heavy, you cannot stop that quickly. What's the reason for it? If it takes you an extra 5 minutes, is that going to hurt you? But you could save a
Right.
life.
Yeah.
Uh, okay.
Which segues into, right? Breaking the rules, right? Let's talk about rules, man.
Right.
when do you feel it's good and bad rules? They're there to be made to be broken, or are they not made to be
So,
broken?
so I'll give you something else before I get into that. So when we're young, and I'm guilty of this too, when we're really young, the word that we hear the most is not dada, is not mama. The word we hear the most, no.
No.
No,
No.
don't do this. No, don't do that. No, 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 no. So
Yeah,
as we get older, and I'm talking general statement,
sure.
as we get older, we tend to say, I don't care about the rules because I've been told no all my life. And now I want to say yes and I want to do what I want to do. And that
Yeah.
leads into the conversation of rules. There are rules for everything. And the rules that are there are meant, in theory, to keep order, to keep people safe and alive, to do, whether it be personal, whether it be
Mhm.
financial, whether it be medical, whatever it is, the rules are there. Who knows who's claiming and making up these rules? I don't know. But the rules, that's another different discussion. But the rules are there to help keep order. Now, in my opinion, again, my opinion, there are some very good rules out there. There are also some rules that I have no idea why, how, when they got implemented and why they're still on the books. I have no clue. Um, but I mean, so when you're driving, to me, it makes sense. Use your signal light. A lot of people don't.
Yeah.
To me, more and more, and I'm not just talking New York, because in different states that I go to, stoplights are now optional.
It's optional,
Red
right?
lights, well,
Optional.
stop. I was saying stop signs and red
Yeah.
lights are optional.
Yeah.
Now, to your point from before, when you're driving and something happens because you didn't follow the rules, now you're costing somebody's life.
Yeah.
Now, for those on here who don't know this, because I don't think I've said this before, I was out just over a year ago. I was out walking and I got hit by a car because somebody didn't obey the rule of stop sign. So there's real implications depending on what you're doing. I
Yeah.
mean, if you're going out and it's yeah, the rule is, wait on line to get your food and you cut the line. All right, you're cutting the line. Not nice. The world's not going to end. Okay, cut the line. You want to be that way, go right ahead. I don't care. It's not major. It's not earth shaking. But the rules are there to be followed. That's everything from, if you're in school, show up on time.
Yeah.
Um, you have to pass certain exams to get your final grade and get out of the class, graduate. If you're in work, be there on time, start a meeting on time. That's just common courtesy.
Yeah. True.
Uh, so, but again, that's me. Like you, I've tended to go more towards the conservative. And I'm not saying that's right or wrong. That's just my way of doing things.
Sure.
But there are certain things that, go do what you want to do. If I'm a firm believer that if nobody gets hurt, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, whatever, if nobody's getting hurt, then go out, go do something. Obviously,
Yeah.
not going to rob a bank because then you got a gun and you got whatever, and don't do that. Okay, but
Bad advice.
really, really bad thing to do. Um, but if you want to do something, go do it. Again, I understand rules are there to keep order, to keep people safe, and I get that stuff. But it, if we're all 100% by every single rule that's out there, then we turn into robots.
Demolition Man.
Yeah,
John Spartan.
John Spartan. That was a good picture, by the way.
That was a very good
Um,
movie. Yeah.
yeah, but but you gotta. We're all different. We're all unique. We all have different needs and wants and things. And if it
Yeah.
means straying just a little bit, stray that little bit. Again, as long as nobody gets hurt. That's
Yeah.
my caveat. Don't put anybody in harm's way.
Yeah. Going back to the original, with the whole driving thing, that people really need to slow down. Reaction time is shorter when you're
Hmm.
speeding. You don't have time to react to something,
Yeah.
and while it doesn't have any weight to, if we're talking about, well, I can wait to send this email. It's important, but it's okay. I can break the rule. That's it's different. Those are not serious things, but driving is really a serious thing, and
It
it's
is.
becoming
It
a
is.
really burden and a big task just to get behind the wheel of a car now. You know,
It is.
yeah,
I, up until last year when I had the accident, I was driving um, a stretch limo. I was driving a limo bus for a company. Really, really good. I'm not getting the name, but it was a really good company. Um, the owner was great. The other drivers are great. The office staff, I mean, it was a really good company. But when I was out there on the road, again, large vehicle, lots of people on it. So there's no way you're stopping quick if you had to. And so you're going down the major road in the middle lane. You're only allowed to go 5 miles over the speed limit. And there was a GPS in every vehicle, and they tracked if you went over that 5 miles.
sure,
But it was done for safety.
yeah,
But yet people, they would cut you off, they would tailgate you, they would shift, like shift in from their lane over the line into your lane. Am I not
mhm.
big enough for you to see me? I'm like
Yeah, right.
10 times your size. You can't
Don't need
see.
more lights flickering on this big bus.
But
Yeah,
it was, I loved it, but it was very dangerous because
yeah,
not
yeah,
not for the people and whatever else, but it was dangerous for me because I understood the downside if I wasn't super careful, which I was.
yeah.
But that's why instead of middle lane, I used to ride the right lane.
Mhm.
This way it gives two lanes for people to be maniacs and pass me and do what they want to do.
Yeah,
And it's okay.
yeah,
I'll see you down the road when the police pull
yeah.
you over. I'll see you down the road when you're in the ditch, and I'll just fly on by. That
Well,
was
I'll
my
see you at the
attitude.
red light.
Yeah, exactly. Or at the next red light.
The
Yeah,
next red light,
that was my
right?
attitude. Yeah.
So let's shift a little bit, Steve. Let's talk about business, right? So when is it not good to follow the rules, not follow the rules, and break the rules in business? That's a question that I wanted to ask you since I thought of this morning. It's like I can't wait to talk to Steve to see what his thoughts are, on breaking rules in business because I know everybody does it. We have plenty of rules that we break
Yeah.
in
Oh, yeah. We
business,
have plenty of rules.
Yeah. And I'm just curious, what's your thought on, when to break rules, how to break rules? Do you break rules? What are those rules that you break and don't break, right? I mean, we don't want to touch ethics because you don't break the rules in ethics. That's a no-no.
Yeah.
Stay ethical, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Stay ethical because if you don't, it may not be today, it may not be tomorrow, but at some point it's going to come back to you. And when
Yeah,
it does, the downside risk of getting caught ethically is not good. You can get fined, you can go to jail, they can take your business, they can do all kinds of stuff. So it's not good.
yeah,
But when it comes to the rules, and again, I suggest you follow these. Some people may not. That's your choice, but I'm suggesting that you do follow the rules. So record all sales, pay all taxes, treat customers right, don't shortchange them. If you're supposed to give somebody, if you're in a bakery and somebody orders 100 donuts, I'm just making this up, 100 donuts, send them 100 donuts. Don't send them 90 or 95. Give them the whole thing that they ordered. Because if they decide to count and you shortchange, the first time, oh, we counted wrong. Maybe.
yeah,
The second time you do it, you're going to lose that order because now it's twice and now they're going to go somewhere else. So
yeah,
to me, it's that penny wise, pound foolish type statement. If you're trying to get away with a little bit of something now for yourself, think about the bigger picture.
Yeah.
I worked in a very large IT company before I left the industry, and they decided to get greedy. And on one deal, after I had agreed with the client on a price, they raised the price. And that additional price that they raised was pennies based on the entire deal. And when I went back to the client, I said, look, I know we agreed, but head office said raise the price. His comment was, not only did you lose the deal, but you just lost the entire account. So do you really think it's, again, in this example, do you really think that little bit extra of revenue is worth losing a major account? I
Right.
don't think so.
Yeah.
It and in business, whether you're a solopreneur, whether you have your own business with a staff, even if you work for somebody else, it's your integrity that's on the line.
Yeah.
It's your reputation that's on the line.
Yeah.
Because, and we've talked about this, and I'm sure people out in listening land
Mhm.
know people do business with those they know, like, and trust.
Yeah.
Any of those pieces that are missing, you're not getting the business. You can stand on your head. They're not going to come to you because they don't know you, like you, or trust you, or all of them.
Yeah.
So it's not worth it. It's
Yeah.
not.
So that's the thing, right? Breaking rules has consequences,
It
just like
does.
following rules has consequences. It's the same, right? But it's just different sides of the coin on those, consequences that you're landing on. So when you're speeding down a road, breaking the rules of speed limit, consequences, you could kill yourself and others. On the flip side of that, breaking rules in a business, well, it might not kill somebody, but it could kill the deal, you know?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I always looked at anything as how would I want somebody else to treat me? So
Mhm.
if I'm working with Chuck and I do something that's not right, how would I feel if Chuck did that thing to me? Whatever it is, how would I feel if he did it to me? And that's what I try to put myself in Chuck's shoes of, is he honest? Is he going to do the right thing for the price we agreed on and the time frame we agreed on? And then the same thing, you know, will I do it for him? Will he do it for me? That's how you build a relationship. And
Yeah.
I understand the economy is not the greatest. You know, people are being laid off. I get that stuff. Not happy about it, but I get it. Um,
Yeah.
but these are the times where people start to cut corners.
You beat me
And
to, I was going
maybe,
to say that, when do people start cut corners now, right? Because of what's happening, with
right,
the economy and business and all.
right.
There's going to be corners start
Yeah,
cutting and there's
yeah. So,
consequences, right?
yeah. So you can cut the corners today, tomorrow, next week, next month.
Yeah.
And maybe your client will accept it because there may not be as many competitors to go to.
Right.
But when the economy gets better and those competitors come back, that client's going somewhere else real quick because now they have options and they don't need you anymore. That's why,
Yeah.
and I'm not suggesting you cut price. All I'm suggesting is if you make a deal that says, I'm going to send you 100 widgets by next week at $1 a widget, you got to deliver. You have to deliver. Your
Yeah.
word is every years and years ago, um, when I first started to work in 1980, and even before that, there was a time where I could sit, have a business, and I could meet Chuck, and Chuck would say, I need something. And Chuck and I would agree over a handshake. And the handshake was good enough to
Good enough.
bound both people to that deal. bind both people to that deal.
And we stuck to it.
And we
Yeah,
stuck to it. But
yeah,
days and times have
yeah,
changed. And now it's handshakes mean nothing. Now
yeah,
it's go to my attorney, get a contract, make sure
yeah.
it's legally bound, sign it by both sides, get it notarized.
Yeah. And something to throw at this, what you're talking about, the same very thing is when I first started chasing the stars, I didn't think about, getting any kind of document signed, you know, I just went out and recorded. And I didn't think that I would have to have something to where, look, if you're going to be in my show, you have to tell me that you want me to do it and you're not going to sue me or want to gain monetary price from me. So, I had a document together and people sign it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Because in today's day and age, and it is only getting worse,
yeah,
people will sue just because you have hair, don't have hair. You have glasses, don't have glasses.
yeah,
You're wearing a size 14 shoe instead of a size 12 shoe. I mean, it's stupid stuff that
yeah,
people are suing and they're winning large awards.
yeah. It's true.
So
Yeah,
when I started to work, and again, all this documentation wasn't really necessary, but then it started to become. And the three letters became the mainstay. And the three letters were CYA.
yeah,
And for those who don't know what CYA is, it means cover your ass.
yeah,
So
absolutely.
you now have to document everything, who
Yeah,
you talk to, when you talk to them, what you discussed. Because if you
yeah,
get to court and somebody sues you, you have to bring your notes out. Now, you could argue, or the other side could argue, we didn't say that stuff. But I have
yeah,
seen over and over and over again, if I'm in a deal with Chuck and it goes south and we go to court, Chuck has nothing. I have my notes by day and everything that happened. The judge
right.
will look at my notes and say, here's a whole thing, a record of everything that's going on.
Yeah,
He's got to be right because Chuck is word of mouth.
yep,
He's got proof. And they're
yep,
going to side with me. In most cases, they're going to side with me.
right.
So you got, and I never ever like to play that game, but you know what? I have no choice now.
And the rules, again, the rules change, right? So these
Yeah,
are
yeah,
rules
the
that you don't want to
rules.
break. We're talking about rules, and these are rules
Yeah,
you don't want to break.
right,
And
right.
yeah, I get it.
And
Yeah,
there's all kinds of rules. There's rules
yeah.
in school. There's rules in work. There's rules for driving. There's rules for eating. There's rules for everything. And to
Yep.
know
I got
what
tons
all
of
those,
rules for sleeping. Unfortunately, it's a whole
true.
process for me. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it's
crazy.
just it's weird. There's rules for
Yeah,
everything, and
yeah,
again, I get it because it maintains order and it does all those things, but
yeah,
sometimes rules can be so restrictive that you can't
yeah,
do anything,
yeah.
and that's
So
where you
when's
got
it?
to go
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah. So when's a good time to break a rule? You know?
Again, what I said before. If in again, my view of the world says if nobody is getting hurt physically, mentally, emotionally, financially, then go for it, provided nobody's getting hurt in any manner. What
Yeah.
you do to yourself by breaking a rule, that's your choice. But don't take anybody with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as a supervisor in the corporate world for 16 years, there were many, 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 many times I had to break the rules to get things done.
Mhm.
And again, it wasn't unethical, it was all ethical. It
Mhm.
didn't hurt nobody. It was just breaking rules of, moving things around, time constraints, shifting someone around to do something. Hey, utilize this person, do this. But, those are good examples of when it's time to break the rules,
Yeah, yeah,
And what people learned is when you're on the phone talking to people, if you don't break rules, you will lose customers. So sometimes you have
sure.
to understand that the customer has to know
Yeah,
that I can break rules, I can't break rules. Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm in the personal financial space. There are rules by the Fed, by the state.
Yeah,
There are certain things you can't do, certain things you can do, certain things you must do in a certain way.
Yeah.
But again, back to my definition, those are things that if you don't do it, somebody can get hurt financially. So is one of my four things of make sure nobody gets hurt. The financial is one of the big ones in there. So
Yeah.
I am bound to do certain things in a certain way, in a certain order, certain documentation, but it's for a reason.
Right.
Is it sometimes a pain in the ass? Yeah, I will tell you it
Sure.
is, but I
Yeah.
understand the reason behind it. So then I do it and just do it because I
Yeah.
know it's good. So the example is a bunch of years ago, as the population is aging, they came out with a whole set of rules around seniors, how to market to them, what you can
Yeah.
say to them, whether you can call them. There's a whole set of rules.
Yeah.
And the initial reaction by a whole bunch of people was, I'm not doing it, but you have to. And
Yeah.
as I became one of those seniors, yes, I'm old, but as I became one of those seniors, I understand the need for it.
Yeah.
And I mean, you hear all these email scams and phone scams and all this stuff. The number one target of all those scams are seniors
Seniors.
because they
Yeah.
they make it like something's urgent. They panic. They have your information. So, oh, your son is sick, your daughter is sick, your spouse is sick. You know, you got to send money. It's the IRS. It's this. It's that. Because a lot of the seniors are old school, don't know any different. A lot of them, if they're on the computer, they'll click away. They don't understand phishing scams and other scams, and it's bad. So that's why a lot of those rules are there, and I think they're smart. I for those rules, I agree.
100%. And
Yeah.
it's interesting because I remember those rules as when I was my short time in the financial industry.
Hmm.
When I took the test and studying, I saw those rules and I was like, this is really cool. It really helps keep
It's
people
smart.
safe and
Yeah,
honest,
it's smart.
and it keeps
Yeah,
them from being scammed the way you talked about. There's so many scams out there that, you know, people break these rules all the time that work around that. And I'm glad that most of them get caught, but there are several out there who, they never get caught and they scam people for a long time.
well, you just got to hope that at some point it catches up to them because
Eventually, right? Yeah.
and the frustrating part is again, I believe most people are good. I really do.
Yeah.
Most people are good. They want to try, they want to do the best, they really want to be honest, but there's always those few that are out there that ruin it for everybody. And that's the frustrating part.
Yeah. What's the phrase? One bad apple spoils the bunch.
Yeah, it
It's
does.
crazy, man.
It
It really
does.
does.
It does.
Yeah.
I don't
Yep.
know. So I'm not eating apples anymore. So okay.
Yeah. When's the last time I had an apple? Oh my God, last year.
I don't remember the last time I had an apple.
Yeah,
But
right.
yeah, but it's interesting though. And,
Yeah.
and I still say it's better to do the right thing than not.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I've seen people, you do one thing wrong. All right, it depends on what it is, but you do one thing wrong, no big deal. Two things
Yeah.
wrong,
Yeah.
no big
Yeah.
deal.
Right.
But when you start to do it, it escalates. It's bigger and bigger and bigger. And at some point, you're going to do something that somebody's going to get hurt.
Yeah.
And you can't use the excuse of, well, I did it before. That's exactly the point. You did it before, you got
You did
lucky.
it before.
That means you have to do it again because you know it's wrong.
Yeah.
Uh, no,
Yep.
no.
In your opinion, what's the biggest no rule never to break?
Wow.
We already
That's a
talked about
really,
mine.
that's a
Yeah.
really good question.
Yeah. We already talked about mine. Ethics, man. Don't break that ethics rule. To me, that is the biggest.
Yeah,
It'll save
ethics is
you.
key.
Yeah. Yeah.
And ethics obviously has a lot under it. I was part of a networking group for a very large networking group a couple of years ago. And for 3 years in a row, I ran their ethics committee. And the group, when I left, the group was over 80 people, and now it's more. So it was a lot to do, but the rules were there. And I was there as the ethics chair to enforce the rules. Now, it wasn't huge, fancy stuff, but it was enough to keep people in line because as the group grows, if people start doing their own thing, the group's gone because there's no organization anymore. So
Right.
it was important that people did the right thing on the right time at the right price and all that stuff. And that's what I did. So
Yeah.
ethics is really important. Again, um, nobody gets hurt physically, emotionally, monetarily, mentally, and all those things that I talked about. It's very important that
Yeah.
ethics is key. It tells a lot about your character.
Sure does. Yep.
Yeah.
One thing of rules that I can't stand in my entire life ever.
Okay.
HOAs. They are the
Oh,
worst.
yep. HOA is
HOAs.
the homeowners
Blah.
association.
Right.
Yeah, they are.
Gotta love it.
They are. They make their own rules.
Make their own rules. Make them as they go. You know?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
they do.
exactly. Yeah.
They do what's best for them, not, you know. In fact, there are people, um, I believe is it a condo that has the HOA or is it co-op? I forget which.
Uh, Condos do, and single houses where I live here in Maryland, they'll have them
Okay.
too.
But
Yeah,
there are
both.
people that I know that will not move into a community that has
Yes.
an HOA.
Yep.
It
And they
doesn't
move
matter
out
how
within
much it
3 months, in
costs,
3 years.
doesn't matter how good the school district is,
Yep.
because that HOA, first of all, there's the cost. They make their own rules, they enforce them
Yep.
to be, I mean, some of them are so bad. Your grass has to be so high, your mailbox has to be so far back from the curb. I mean, some of them are really stupid, quite
Can't
frankly.
change the colors of your house. If you
Yeah, you
repaint it,
can't.
gotta paint the same
Yeah,
colors.
but
Oh yeah.
but that's part of what they do sometimes.
Mhm.
And a lot of people I know won't move into a development with an HOA.
Yep.
I won't.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
got it. All right. Final
Mm.
thoughts. What do you got?
Um, give you my two-word final thought. Stay ethical.
I think
Seriously.
you and I, yeah, I think you and I agree that has to be the biggest one of the biggest no-nos in the entire universe is don't break ethics, man. Follow those rules.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
just, again, it says a lot about you as a person. And
Yeah.
then by extension, if you have a business or if you work for a company, when
Yeah.
customers are out there and they buy a product or a service, in many cases, they're buying you. They're not buying your company.
Yeah.
So if
True.
you are not ethical, you're not
Yeah.
getting any business. And I don't remember what the exact numbers are, but if you do something right, somebody will relay, I think it's like to two people or three people that you did it right, ethical. But if you don't and it's bad, I think they will tell 100 people. I mean, it's that much of a difference. 10
Yeah.
people, 10
And
people, 100 people, whatever it is. But it's
it's
so much
normally
more.
10, man. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and with the age of social media, if you
It can
don't,
grow quick. Yeah.
within minutes, the world knows.
Yeah.
Minutes.
Word of mouth can go big. Yeah.
So is it
So
really
true.
worth it? No, not in my
Right.
opinion, anyway.
No, absolutely. Yep. I 100% agree.
Yeah.
100% agree. Yep.
Yep.
Stay ethical, man. It's the right way to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All
Yeah.
right. Good
Steve,
stuff.
thanks again. Yeah. Thanks again for
Uh,
coming on
yeah.
the Friday at 4 podcast because
It's 4 o'clock somewhere.
4 o'clock somewhere. Love it.
Love it. All
I
right.
think
Good
you
deal.
got this. Man. I think you got this down.
I'm
It's a
getting there.
2, 3 in a row
Don't
now.
give me kudos yet. I'm guaranteed to screw it up one of these weeks. So, okay.
Right. Steve, have a great rest of the night. Have a good
You too.
weekend.
You got
And
it.
again, another great podcast. I love
Yep.
this, man. This series is great. It's
Yep.
near and dear to my heart. I love doing this, and
Me too.
we really got to start promoting these, man. Get
Yep. And
people
to
on board.
anybody out there, again, if you have any questions, comments, you want to get on this podcast, let Chuck know. QACteam.com. Did I get that right?
Got it.
I'm impressed.
Got it.
QACteam.com. Let him know you can be a guest here. Again, two
Yeah,
guys, just our thoughts on things.
you got it.
All
Absolutely. And
right.
that's what I like about this.
Hmm.
It's just you and I having a conversation about
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
And I like our conversations, and apparently other people do too. We
Yeah.
got some good views, so
Yep.
I'm loving it.
Yep. Absolutely.
So
All right.
yeah.
Be good. I will see you next
Yes,
week.
sir. Take care,
You
buddy.
got it.
Have a great weekend.
Be
See
good.
you,
You
man.
too. Thanks. Take care,
Thanks, buddy.
everyone. Bye bye.
See you. Bye.
You've been watching the Friday at 4 podcast series with your host Charles Luttrell and co-host Steve Kent. Thanks for watching.